All right, welcome everyone to, I don't know, today's date, June 7th, 2022. It's Tuesday night, and this is the first online Anahat meditation support group. I did all of the videos that anybody's been watching now, whether you went through live or you've been watching them after they were done. Those were done in 2020 when COVID hit and I was in hardcore quarantine, which is easy for a monk. So I'm like, what, locked away in my house? I got that, right? What did Siddhartha say in the book by Hermann Hesse? He said, I can think, I can wait, I can fast. It's like, oh, I got this. All right, so while I was in my solitude on the top of the mountain in California, I decided, like, I got all these teachings. I know I have to put these out fully in this lifetime, and that was a chance to do so. So thank you all for being there with me during that time. And for those of you here now, especially if you were here then, it means a lot to me because I'm kind of a crazy person when it comes to this Anahat stuff. It is my life mission. It drives me like unlike anybody I've ever known. And if it weren't for students actually interested in it, I would really think I'm crazy. I mean, who just builds a monastery out in the middle of nowhere, not just online, but I can tell you a little bit more about the story. So I'm going to take a half hour tonight anyway to give you an overview, just talk, and I have a PowerPoint to share with you, show you what's been going on. And then I'll answer questions you guys have already asked. And then I will be happy to interact with you. Just use the chat pod at any point and ask questions or whatnot. And let's see, unless you ask now, let me answer it for now, since we don't have a good system yet for that. I would like to take an entire meditation course. Can you please guide me because I was not able to purchase through our institute? Well, if you mean this one, because it's the only one I'm going to promote here, this is free. So the Anahat Meditation System in 2020, when I made all these videos, so you can find them in case that people don't, in case you don't know, one of the hints about what we're all about here is if you go to onlinemonastery.com. Google is talking to me. If you go to onlinemonastery.com, you will see over 60 hours of videos that explain this entire system. There are PDF documents that go along with each lesson. And essentially, you just go to, if you guys haven't done this yet, I mean, hang out for tonight, you'll get a sense of what this is all about. But then go to onlinemonastery.com and look for the introduction videos I made since the last time we were together, about an 18-minute introductory video to Anahat meditation. I also, there's a 6-minute introduction on that website, and then there's the 2.5-hour introduction. So listening to the 2.5-hour introduction gets you started on the system, and then you just keep watching the videos. But why don't we take a moment, actually? I'm going to assume nobody here knows anything. Let's work with that model. And I'll do screen share and show you the website. Because if you think you have to sign up or something for this, then you kind of sign up. So on the top right, I'm not sure if you can see because of my camera image, but the very top right of this website, onlinemonastery.com, it says sign up. If you've signed up, then we have a date for when you actually signed up. Now, what do you do at that point? You start right here. It says video, audio, and PDF lessons are available here. So the moment you decide you want to start this system, click sign up. And then you just start going through the system. You can just click right here on Anahat Meditation. And then this page has 12 workbook lessons, but you start by going through the videos, which are loading very slow because we're on Zoom and I have really bad internet connection out here in the Adirondacks now. So on the home page, there are also videos. These are the intro videos. This is one I did recently on our Monday night conscious community class. This is at actually the house here in the Adirondacks now with the Anahat stained glass in the background. So basic intro to the Anahat system. This is a 6-minute introduction. This is the long 2.5-hour introduction. And if you like that, then basically just start going through all the videos in this Anahat meditation section. I've also been doing a lot of work on social media, putting different meditations. These are really powerful. The illuminated mind meditation. And this is awakening to the core of your soul meditation. This will guide you using hypnosis right to the essence of your being. They're meant to really accelerate spiritual growth. So that's where you can get started on this. We talked about in 2020 monetizing the system, but I make plenty of money with my other income streams, honestly. So I'm happy to give this away for free. And yeah, so we decided not to charge for it because you guys can start anytime you want. But basically, yeah, so you can, in case you haven't seen some of this imagery, just fill your mind now with this idea of the body and meditation and the sacred geometrical grids that go along with it. But I'm not going to do an overview in that way here. Just encourage you to go to Anahat Meditation, or just right here where it says audio, video, and PDF lessons are available here. When you click on that, just start going through the videos that are loading now. So video lessons from 2020, you just start with the intro, then you do all the videos in lesson 1, part 1. Each one is an average of 3.5 hours long. So this is a long-term commitment. Once you get through all the lessons, then at the very bottom, and I will say this one thing. There's also audio lessons at the very bottom here that support all the work. Right here, a level 4 certified teacher training course. People have asked me, like, well, how do I get certified in this? And the intention is absolutely to be certifying people. But honestly, up to this point, nobody's quite met the standards yet, because you have to practice this for a couple of years before you're going to really feel ready to teach it. But everything you need to know about how to teach the course, how to get certified to teach the course, is in level 4. So when people ask, what do I do? I realize, oh, you probably didn't get to level 4 yet. But that is the answer to how do I become certified is there. After I did all the videos, then I gave that information. There's essentially 2 things you have to do. In the first introductory video here, or in lesson 1, but right in the beginning, you're going to be given a checklist of every meditation, and you'll write down when you started the meditation, and then you'll write down the date of when you felt proficient in the meditation. You have to submit that checklist to me so I can say, okay, you've been doing this, right? That's one way to know you've actually been doing it. And then the other final thing to do is actually a short essay on each meditation. So you can write down and say, this is what it is, this is what it does, right? Like, you can show me you understand the meditation. You could write a short paragraph on each one. Anybody could who's been doing the system for years. So those are the qualifications. Not charging anything to do that, and just happy to be taking anybody through who finds value in it. All right, so let's go back here. Liliana said, thanks for this opportunity to be on live. Sometimes when I do my Anahat meditation, I feel as if I'm rocking back and forth. Is that normal? It's not normal for me, but I know the phenomena. I can feel sometimes when the energy is moving my physical body, but generally in this system, you are moving energy up and down these energy grids, simply stated. When the energy is really moving through your body, it's very, very powerful, and it might want to move you. I would encourage you to sit still, to let the energy, like, there's something about, it's kind of deep stuff to explain. It's a good question. We have the term pranayam. Prana is the life force energy, and yam is to control. So even though the energy can move us, we also want to yam that energy, control that energy, or keeping the body still forces the Shakti to move up and down your spine more, because it's not able to move you. But it's okay if you find yourself moving. I notice a lot of subtle micro movements when I do the practice. My spine literally adjusting itself so that everything comes into really, really good alignment. I don't want to say perfect, but pretty well perfect alignment, because the inner energy is adjusting you. So if it moves you, it's okay, but also be aware that there's a lot of benefit in sitting still. We're highly inspired here by Zen meditation. And in a Zen monastery, you don't move. Nobody's rocking back and forth. So I'm inspired by that. But I'm also Jewish at heart, and you will see Jews in front of the Wailing Wall, and they're rocking back and forth when I'm not sure, I'm not qualified to speak about this, but when a Jew is doing what's called tefillin, I think it's called, there's like a box they have on their head, one on the arm. I'm not qualified to talk about this at all, but you'll often see them rocking. So the idea that rocking could happen in deep altered states, sure, but not Anahat meditation. Generally, do your best to keep the body still. It'll force the energy to move through the grids more. But at the same time, like I'm saying, if any spontaneous movement happens, it's okay to allow for that too. When it really comes down to it, ask your inner guidance, right? You can literally ask in meditation, should I be still or not? And the spirit's like, no, I'm moving you. Shut up and get out of the way. Then you be quiet and get out of the way. If spirit is like, yeah, you need to keep this still and contain this energy. When you get to the out of body level of training with this, you start tapping into the vibrations. You hear them, you feel them. They're very unique. It's not just like a tingling. It is like a I can't do it with my voice box to make that sound, but you can control those vibrations with your consciousness, and then you increase the vibration. Once it's strong enough, you can leave your body. I don't want to jump too far ahead, so I'm gonna not get into these deep questions right at the beginning, since some people might be really new, but that's the answer to that one, at least the best I can give. All right, so give me a sec, everyone. I'll come back to your questions. Let me go to PowerPoint and just give you a brief overview of where we're at with things these days, and also help catch any beginners up to what this is all about. The symbol in the very center here is the Anahat chakra. It's something that I had drawn. This version of it is something I had drawn for me by an artist when I was about 23 years old. So Anahat has been with me my entire adult life. It's a set of revelations, a meditation system that came to me that I didn't invent myself. It's a long story of what that's all about. But this isn't just a Matthew Brownstein invention, right? This is my mission, right? It's what my soul is here to do. I have like all that's left now in me is consciousness and a mission. Everything else changes, but the consciousness and the mission of Anahat hasn't gone away. Anahat is the heart chakra, and our corporation is Anahat Education Group. I started originally in Massachusetts in 1997, and it was called Anahat Meditation Center. So I was teaching this stuff when I was like 23, 24 years old. Definitely by 25, I was officially teaching Anahat meditation. So I've been doing it for quite a while, and now that we have the internet, we have hundreds of people who have signed up for this rather than the few that I could teach back then. So anyway, we have a wonderful new artist named Diletta from Turin, Italy, who did this work, and I hope you're enjoying the colors and everything. We also redid our logo. We're the Institute of Interpersonal Hypnotherapy, but you'll see at the very core of the school's logo is Anahat chakra and the squared circle, so that everything we're doing in Anahat Education Group is inspired actually by the Anahat teachings. We're also the International Association of Interpersonal Hypnotherapists, also a new logo. But again, you'll see Anahat chakra in a maybe not perfectly done, I forget, but a squared circle surrounding that. And then this larger triangle representing our sending energetics up towards spirits, where wherever we are, there's an idea that we're kind of rising up. That can be misleading, as if you have to go somewhere. But either way, it represents a journey into the divine, which you're already in, right? So you don't ever want to imply you're not there. You're there, you just don't know you're there. And that ascending triangle very much represents that journey. But this is really deep stuff. So I'll just leave it at that. All right, next, during the conference, we just had our IAIH conference. And the symbol for the IAIH was there, but towards the end, as we're doing synthesis, this image came to me, and it's the hands in prayer, and it's light emanating out. But that's at the heart, right? Where the hands are in prayers, the hands in the heart. That's Anahat chakra. That's where the love and the light and the bliss actually can be found, not just in the ascending or higher chakras. Anahat meditation gets all of the light and love and joy and bliss and wisdom of who you are to integrate fully into your body, unlike anything I've ever seen. Our synthesis conference, it is available as recordings if anybody's interested. We were anchoring every time we would have a great, all the presenters, every great presenter, after they were done, we would anchor in what they were saying. And then whenever we touched this at the end, we were all conditioned with the trigger phrase synthesis or synthesize. And it did something in my psyche, I can tell you for sure, that integrates all of the goodness and wholeness of who you are into a greater whole. So it's a very powerful process. If you're ever interested in attending the conference, you can do it as a recording. But we did that since we did the original Anahat meditation recordings in 2020. These were the presenters in the conference, and you can see everything just unfolded based in sacred geometry. Nobody's in any position intentionally really with their names, maybe Danny, since she's so much a part of our school, but everybody is. But you can see here is the fruit of life pattern, and I had 12 presenters working with me, taking our group through this. It was a beautiful experience. Also, our artist, Iletta, did this image on the right to help me to improve the look and the way of explaining Anahat meditation. So this is still my body, the same basic outline. We just changed the face a bit. But I was asking her to go for a look that's very balanced and yin, yang, male, female, because what you have with the ascending triangle is more of a masculine energetic, and the descending triangle is more of a feminine energetic. When you hear the term hatha, hatha yoga, sun, moon is what the word hatha means. And we talked about balancing the lunar and solar energies within through Ida and Pingala Nadi in the yogic system. So it's all about balance and integration and really synthesis. So that's somewhat of an overview. My life has been, I was just saying before, maybe before we started recording, quite wacky. I have literally moved 37. I didn't have time to finish the list, but I made this list during the conference to show everybody my wacky life. And if you look at the cursor quickly, I was born in New York, in the city, but I've also lived in Massachusetts and Pennsylvania. I've lived in Virginia and DC, and I've lived all over Florida. When I put Metatrons Cube, a sacred geometrical grid over the planet, over the United States, I see like my life unfolding based on sacred geometry. We have a strong presence in Texas, from where I taught for a while and anchored in some Anahat meditators there. And then I lived, when I did the Anahat system in 2020 online, that was done from Southern California in Crestline, California. And I also lived and taught for a while up in the San Juan Islands of Washington State. So what does any of this mean? Whatever we want it to mean. But I've always been drawn. I was living in Colorado for a while. I also lived in this whole area, the 4 states region, a lot. But so you can see the list over to the right. But when I lived in Colorado, I had a dear student who wanted to purchase land for Anahat Monastery. And she did. And I lived in the land and I was building a temple. For various reasons, it didn't work out. But I'm like, what am I, a crazy person? Why am I building a temple in the middle of Colorado? Since then, I have left California and took this line across up to the Adirondacks in New York, where I live now. We have 20 acres of land up here, and there's plenty of space now, finally, to build Anahat Monastery beyond just the online monastery. So my life is based on this. And again, if you're here, I appreciate you because you make me not feel like a crazy person, that there must be some value in this stuff. Because it's what motivates and leads me more than anything else. We also founded since 2020 the Interpersonal NLP Society. I've been a master NLP practitioner and teacher for years, but started teaching more actively relatively recently again. So we do have basic and master interpersonal NLP trainings through our school now. Working with the new artists, we have a color palette, and a big part of that is the online monastery, or onlinemonastery.com. I just wanted to share briefly my mission, which is very general, but I hope it inspires you and sees like, why are we doing this stuff? To offer the world through loving service, the wisdom and truths that I've discovered over the years in a way that relieves the suffering of all beings and promotes health, wealth, and enlightenment for myself and others. So Anahat is about balance between the higher spirituality, and I'm going to say it this way, the lower professionalism, right? So that you can be a hypnotherapist or a teacher or whatever you do, right? Obviously, I'm big in hypnotherapy, but you can be professional with that. So we have a new font that we've chosen, which is a more professional, elegant look, but also bringing in the spirituality. I hope that inspires you guys in your career, in your dharma, in your mission, to have that balance of masculine and feminine and professional, but also deeply spiritual. All right, next. So if you go to YouTube now, there's a lot of other meditations I've posted there. This is super powerful hypnosis for integrating the psyche into wholeness. If you've been through a hypnotherapy training and you understand about the inner child, the inner parent, and the inner adult, and the need to harmonize those and then synthesize those, this meditation does that. Used over time, it will bring your psyche back to wholeness, because it's not just about meditation. There is the psychological aspect of the enlightenment process. And you can't really use the word enlightened when your mind is still divided. And this meditation is designed to integrate the mind. And again, you'll see there, onlinemonastery.com is a big part of all this work, as well as instituteofhypnotherapy.com, which has also had a facelift since 2020. I do now Monday night conscious community classes again every Monday night at 7 p.m. You can join us for topics related to this, but not specifically on Anahat meditation. So this is the support group. We'll do it through June. And if people are really enjoying it and having questions, we can continue. We'll just see how it goes. All right, this is the book, The Sacred Geometry of Meditation. If you haven't read it and you're interested in these teachings, this is the place to start. This is the textbook. There's 175 illustrations in it, and it explains the entire system through level 1. It doesn't go into level 2, 3, or 4, but it's what you need to get started for sure. And then it's not the kind of book you might only read once. We have a new cover for the Anahat Meditation System book. This was formerly known as the Journals of Michael Devane, but what did that mean to anybody? So I want to tell you guys briefly, if you're interested in the history of all this work, I had Anahat Meditation Center in 1997 in Massachusetts, and I ran it for about 3 years with my hypnotherapy practice. So, I'm like 25 years old to 28 years old and teaching people Anahat meditation and doing hypnotherapy. I got burnt out. I was young and whatever. So when I left, I packed up my Jeep and I drove up to New York. I went through the Catskills, and then I went up into the Adirondacks, and I camped out on the Adirondacks. This book is a novel that teaches the whole Anahat meditation system for levels 1 and levels 2. And the lead character, who's named Michael Devane, kind of stumbles across this monastery and then starts learning the Anahat teachings. The monastery are 7 or 8 small houses in the woods. And I wrote this book in 2000. I never planned on living in the Adirondacks, but now I live in the Adirondacks where this book is technically written, as a novel, but I had no idea that that was happening. And now I own 20 acres of land up here in the Adirondacks, and I am primed to build Anahat Monastery on this property now. So if you're interested in being part of that vision, visiting, and we're also considering having investors in the whole vision. Nothing is set yet, but just so you know, I'm serious about this. This is my life. And if you ever read this book, you hear about the lead character, who is really me as a fictional character, going through the story in the 1800s where he's learning this system in a small monastery in the woods. And that's very much what's manifesting here now. I'll tell you about that more in a sec. This is my book, The Sutras on Healing and Enlightenment. If you haven't dove into that, it really supports the enlightenment process, of course, but the healing process as far as healing the mind as part of the overall work. Interpersonal hypnotherapy, one of the other books that support that other part of my work. Peace under all circumstances. There's a lot of free resources now online. The Life Mastery course, it's a big part of this work. So in concluding this, so we can get back to you guys, I lived at Zen Mountain Monastery in the Catskills in New York. And even when I moved back to New York recently, I was ready to go back to the monastery because I'm a monk, I really am. And yet I'm also meant to be doing this Anahat thing, and I'm not meant to live in that monastery. I've always felt like I'm meant to build one. So that inspires, though, this vision. This is the property itself. It's 20 acres with a very long driveway into the house that's here now. And then here in a sacred geometrical grid is my intention to build Anahat Monastery. This is the land itself, and then you can just see the grid of the houses here. I'm looking towards environmentally friendly, sustainable, kind of prefab houses. They're relatively inexpensive, they're environmentally friendly, they're super clean, and it'll serve as a place to come and meditate or to retreat. And then these small houses will be the 6 that surround the center structure. That's the vision. If you're interested, feel free to reach out to me. And I didn't even think I was going to share this with everybody tonight, but I realized, oh, no, this is an appropriate time to share this part of the vision. There's a lot more going on with Anahat Education Group, but that's all I'm going to share with you now. As far as other work that we can utilize tonight to understand what's going on, our new artist, Diletta, did this for me. She didn't quite get that. I didn't want it to be as cosmic. She was like learning what I was looking for. So this is one of the first renditions that she did. But she's very deep and she meditates. And I told her, like, you know, when you do this stuff, meditate on it. So to understand Anahat a little bit better, if you're new to all this, you can see these geometrical grids. This main grid is called Metatrons Cube. She elaborated on it, and I do as well, to really show what's going on. But you'll see the 13 circles of the fruit of life pattern. And when you connect those lines, the center of each circle, you get this grid. Notice how it's perfectly at the very center of the heart, right at the level of the nipples. And then the line here at the chin and the crown. If you draw a circle through there at the crown, that's the size of the head. That's the same size circle as what's here at the heart, and the same circle from here's the navel down to the tailbone. So what I discovered in meditation is a profound geometry underlying the human form. I'm not the only one who's tapped into it. But what I started feeling was energy moving through these grids in very specific patterns that Spirit basically informed me. This is the Anahat Meditation System. I'm like, okay, you know, great, because it's amazing. There's 4 levels. What you're looking at here is actually meditating on level 2, where you're connected to the etheric geometrical grids. Level 1 is more focused on your physical body. Level 2 starts taking awareness out of your body. As you start focusing on these more subtle dimensions in level 2, a student asked recently, like, well, what happens? And as your third eye starts opening, you'll start seeing these other dimensions. As your third eye opens, you as consciousness can actually project through. You can astral project in different ways. A third eye projection is one of those ways. And you're just not having to be in your body as much anymore. That happens in various phases of your growth. Sometimes it's on for me, sometimes it's not. Sometimes I can't do it even if I want to, and sometimes it's happening when I don't even want it to. But it's real, and these other realms, other dimensions, the etheric plane, the astral plane, and so on, they're real. And this system helps us to tap in to what's underneath the surface. But their benefits are so many. I won't take our time tonight. Just watch the introductory videos. But just imagine what it'd be like if you were truly whole and complete, where every level of you, every aspect of your being was liberated and free, that it brought you to, I like the term in Anahat, fruition. It brings you to fruition. Like your life's journey is complete in the sense that you got it. You figured out the system. You know what life is all about. And at that moment, you're in a harmony. Now, that doesn't mean your life is done at that moment, but you can keep living in a harmony and grace and in alignment with the divine, with all your chakras open. The benefits of this system are profound. And if I didn't really believe that, I would teach something else. Like, I don't want to be a pioneer. I don't want to be living, you know, up in the woods and intense solitude with a vision and a mission. I'd rather live in another monastery. But I'm so dedicated to this. So thank you for listening, because I want to inspire you to do the practice. I have no financial interest in saying this, right? I'm giving this away for free. If you do this system, it'll blow your mind about what'll start happening to you. All right, with that said, there's the Anahat Meditation System book. Again, this is a picture in the Adirondacks where I just happen to live now, even though I wrote the book in the year 2000. When I had no idea I'd be living here. It's absolutely gorgeous, by the way, if you ever get to come visit. So in the center, this is another image that Diletta drew for us. And it's just really simple. So you can see the precision of the points on the body. But what we're really interested in is this core central channel, and the meditation system starts moving you through these grids very much along that central line. As it evolves into level 3, we start talking about out-of-body experiences, samadhi, the deepest meditative states, and sexual energy, because to be whole and complete, we have to honor that we're sexual beings, right? But when you're sitting there, if you look at the meditators on the screen, right, you got Buddha on the right and the Anahat meditator on the left. I guess that would be Michael Devane, technically, since that's the lead character of the book. His hands are right there, his legs are right there, and his genitals are right there. You can't deny that there's sexual energy in a human body. Anahat meditation doesn't deny it, because when you bring your attention there, the bottom of the descending triangle, there's sexual energy. Meditators need to learn what to do with that if they're going to be whole and complete, and the system teaches that in level 3. What I've discovered over all this time is something I'm now calling my own meditation practice, Anahat Samadhi. It's not a term you hear in the yogic texts. It's just something that seems to be very unique in this way of meditating. So what do I mean by that? And then if you're getting advanced in this and you want to reach out to me about the deeper stages of samadhi that are occurring, then I can talk to you about what real fruition is in this deepest state. For me, Anahat Samadhi is complete oneness with the absolute, which is completely one with the relative, which is total awareness of these grids, because they're just there. There's no way to verbalize what samadhi is, and there's no way to really verbalize what I mean by Anahat Samadhi. I could spend hours talking about it, but if you feel like you've been really getting into level 3 and you're understanding samadhi, then when you're ready, feel free to reach out to me. So you can see why I can't just certify teachers just because you watch the videos. You've got to practice this for years to be really qualified to teach it. But I'm happy to guide people there to really what the whole gist of this system is, what it's really all about. Okay, so that's that. Let me answer some questions, and I'll go to the chat pod and the Q&A pod for questions. And we'll basically spend as long as you guys want while you still have questions. If you want to sign off at any point, I won't be offended. I'll show you these briefly, and then I'll go back to full screen just so you can feel closer to me. So students' questions for tonight. What is God beyond the beyond? It's a term I use, and I pulled the term from Mayor Baba's works. However, he used a slightly different term. I've just kind of, in my head, started using that term. Okay, so it's kind of a Matthew term. What is God beyond the beyond? And then just to help you to understand that, we also want to talk about what is God in the beyond state, and then what is divine mind was the question that was asked. So the two questions asked, what is God beyond the beyond, and what is divine mind? Even though we talk about the sacred geometries and the body and meditation and out-of-body experiences and sexual energy, we really want to talk about what's the ultimate goal, right? Well, balance and harmony and power and integration, like that's all great. But what's the ultimate goal of a monastery? What's the ultimate goal of mysticism? Like, why do monks meditate in caves for years and years and years? Like, why would you do that? Because you're working to find God, essentially, right? So the quest for truth is what it's all about. The word anahat, if you really take a moment to be very present, let's go back to full screen. All right, so the word anahat, and you notice how like I dress in black a lot, but especially when I'm teaching this stuff, and a lot of those slides are in black. Diletto, our artist, felt that color's a bit aggressive, but I don't feel like I'm an aggressive person. So what the color black is before light. Anahat is before vibration. The word literally means unstruck. Like if you could translate anahat in from Sanskrit to English, one of the best terms is unstruck, or not ringing in the sense of a bell that has not yet been invited to ring or struck. Right? So if we strike the bell, it starts vibrating. But before vibration, it's in a state of pure potentiality. That's God beyond the beyond. So God beyond the beyond is source beyond anything you could conceive of, because any conception is not that. It's beyond name, it's beyond form, it's beyond words, but where is it and what is it? Or we could say, who is it? Well, it's right here now, and it's you, and tag, you're it. You're that. However, the human being gets so identified, the consciousness gets so identified with the human, we think we're bodies. One of the biggest teachings in any spiritual tradition, and definitely in this one, if I can claim this is a spiritual tradition, it's just kind of starting. But after many years, we'll call it a tradition. And whatever. So essentially, though, in this way of thinking, from my own experience, what the Anahat teachings really mean to me is that you already are what you're looking for. You are spirit, you are soul, you are consciousness. Anahat is not just a word that represents that essence, it's also considered the heart chakra. We call this Anahat chakra. So what is that? Well, its symbol is a 6-pointed star in a 12-petal lotus. And again, we have an ascending and a descending energetic, the way energy can flow up and down through the body. So Anahat meditation is more than just guiding you back to source. It's helping to integrate awareness that source is right here now, that love and joy and peace and bliss and wisdom is here now. But what nobody's really here now. Zen monks and Zen masters are here now, right? Being fully here now, where your mind doesn't do past and future anymore, where you're just so present. Like nobody's home, you're just here. That's actually a very advanced meditative state, right? Where there's no mind, you're just here. There's no personal self, you're just here. So when we're doing Anahat meditation, we're tapping into that right here now. However, when we talk about God beyond the beyond, we're talking about that which is transcendent to the physical here and now, right? Because we're still have a body and we still have this physical matter stuff, right? There's a chair and a meditation cushion, and that's a beautiful copy of the Bhagavad Gita back there. There are physical things, right? Those physical things are not the absolute unchanging source energy. They are manifestations. They have vibrated into form, right? So they are there, but what's the source of all of this form, of all of this energy? Is that what we see as matter is really just energy, right? We have a term in Anahat lingo called Anahat Shah, S-H-A-B-D. That's the silent light. So my company is Silent Light Publishers, one of my branches of this work, Silent Light Publishers. That's Anahat Shah, or the unstruck sound. So what we're saying is, if you think about the color black, God beyond the beyond is there before light. Then God said, let there be light. Why does the Bible say it that way? Say, or what is there? Why did God say, let there be light? In the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. So we want to consider these terms God beyond the beyond, meaning beyond, and then like beyond that. So how do you experience that directly? In very deep samadhi meditation, your body drops away from your awareness, which means the external world drops away from your awareness, because when you have no body in your awareness, you're not using your sense organs. Anahat meditation teaches you to get to this deepest state of samadhi, where it's called nirvikalp, or I'll give you some words, but there's no real word for it. Let's just use the word empty, or the Buddhist term shunya. Shunya means empty or void. When we go into deep hypnosis, which we can use hypnosis to guide you there, so that's why I have all those YouTube recordings for you now. When you're doing deep meditation, or I'm guiding you with hypnosis, you get to the very core of your being, which is the heart of your being, right? Anahat, heart. But what's the very heart of your being? God. But why do we say God beyond the beyond? Because we're talking about that which is beyond time and space, beyond vibration, beyond name and form. So yes, it's you now. And when you go deep inside, that's what you're going to find. It's at the very core of your being, because where could you go? If you look for truth, you'll find it. But what you find is void. It's empty. There's no separate self. It's not for the faint of heart, because your ego won't survive the journey. Your personal self can't go. Because when you go very, very, very deep within, when your body drops away from your awareness, you can still have thoughts. But in deeper meditation, even your thoughts go bye-bye. And then it's just blank. There's no more English, if you just think in English, or whatever language you think in, there's no more of that going on in your head. It's shunya, it's empty, it is shut off temporarily. In Sanskrit, it's called narod. When we're in that state, we do experience God beyond the beyond time and space, beyond name and form. Once you find that in you as you, then when you have an out-of-body experience, there is this idea of you as the soul, and then there's the universal soul, right? So God beyond the beyond, you could consider to be the universal soul or spirit. You want to tap into that right here and now, and Anahat meditation definitely is going to guide you there. And and more than just that, because of the integration, the balance that it promotes. But when you have an out-of-body experience, if you're already rooted in your soul, then you will transcend, or you could use the word ascension here. You could ascend beyond. That's what the ascending triangle is. You ascend beyond time and space. And when you go through or all the levels of creation, from the physical plane to the etheric plane to the astral plane, every plane gets more subtle as you go. It's denser down below. And as you're rising up towards God beyond the beyond. After the astral plane and the higher astral planes, you start passing through what's called the causal plane. And then you're moving into this outpouring of light. The outpouring of light, like literally the infinite light of God, is God in the beyond states, right? So if I go back to the slide for a moment so you can see those terms again, kind of stacked. This is a Trinity model here. God beyond the beyond is Anahat, it's source, it's the very heart of the universe. But what I'm talking about right now is God in the beyond state, the light of God, excuse the gender non-neutral term, the son of God, or the sons and daughters of God, the child of God. God in the beyond state is the child of God. It's the level of Anahat Shabd, which is the vibratory level, where God said, let there be light. But what is there in that creation? We are. We're the creations of God. We're the children of God, not as bodies. We're created in the image and likenesses of God as spiritual beings. But when we incarnate, our body has this remarkable divine proportion going on, because there's divinity within and it's manifesting physically. But the divinity that's manifesting physically can leave the body and go all the way back to source. On that mystical journey back to God, you move through God in the beyond state, which is really home in the sense of the sonship, as A Course in Miracles calls it, or just your home in the light. In that light are the subatomic particles, the Anu and Par Anu, the subatomic particles of the atoms. But waves and particles are pouring out of one central source, which is Om, the word of God, the vibration. As you go through that Om point, you enter into God beyond the beyond. So there's the light of God. You can stop there and hang out there, right? And there's not much going on. It's just light and beingness. But there's actually a source of that light. So the mystery of all mysteries is actually Anahat, which is God beyond the beyond, the very heart and source of the universe. All right, so what's there? I represent it as black because it's beyond light, but it's not black like the color of the crayon or the color on the screen. It is pure consciousness, and it's completely non-dualistic. So the idea of a you who experiences it drops away there. In Sufism, this is called fana al-fila, the complete annihilation of the false self. So what's left when you are merging into God, beyond the beyond? Only pure devotional love. It's just because this source energy is love. And that really explains in many ways why we even have creation, because this one conscious love was empty and void and wanted to know itself and said, let there be light, right? So if you get that biblically, God the Father, So really, if you just, I just don't want to use the term God the Father, one, because it's gendered, but also two, because it implies personhood. And God beyond the beyond, there's no personhood. All there is infinite conscious love, but non-dual and not able to know or appreciate itself. So my experience of this, in that deepest level of merging, there's no time. So you can't say like when you come out of it, because you never really come out of it ever again once you're in it, because you're it. But there is a sense that your mind starts activating again, where you're like, oh, wow, here I am. But who's speaking now? It's actually God who's speaking at that moment, saying, I want to make love with myself. I want to express and manifest and experience myself. So that's, to me, the deepest experience of what this work is all about, is knowing God in the absolute, and then coming back down here and talking about it, essentially, and talking about everything in between and what it's like to have gone through the mystical path. So God beyond the beyond is absolute source. It's represented by the word Anahat, and I use the color black to represent it. God in the beyond state is the light, that's the white. And if we want an image for that, we would go back here. All of that light pouring out of Anahat, out of source, that's the Anahat Shah, that's the silent light, that's Om, or the word of God. And you can go right into your heart to find it, or you can go into your higher chakras to find it. The idea is to find it and then to integrate it everywhere in every little bit of your life, which is what synthesis is all about. Okay, let me go to that slide about, whoops. All right, the other question, since the slideshow went away. What is divine mind? So we have God the Father, if you want to use the Trinitarian Christian model. That's source, okay? So that's Anahat, but not father or mother. You can call it mother if that makes you feel better, but it's beyond gender. Then we have the light of God, or the Son of God, or the sons and daughters of God, or the child of God, or the Christ consciousness, right? So there's God the Father, God the Son, and then we have the Holy Spirit. That's divine mind. So what is that? Well, that is here now too. It's everywhere. It is the voice for God. It is the wisdom of God. It's when you ask a question of God, you get an answer. We don't give answers to God. God gives answers to us, right? Revelation is not a two-way street. If you say, God, what do you look like? Or what do I do with the kids? What am I gonna, if you ask any question, whether it's mundane or, whether it's very human or very, very deep, there is a higher, wiser mind that can answer your question. That's divine mind. That's the voice of the Holy Spirit. It is there in the depths of meditation, but it usually only has to talk to you if you're confused. So it's the voice that guides you back to source. Once you're in source, you have no questions. And then what is that mind? It's just the most beautiful stillness that's there in a state of communion with the divine. So in deep meditation, you're communing with God. It's not just concentration. We talk about concentration a lot in Anahat meditation, but this is communion, where you're actually talking with God. But it's more the prayer of the heart than just the chatter in your head. The chatter in your head is usually neurosis and confusion. Even if it's very pure, it's still like, why are you even talking? God doesn't need you to speak English. Like, you think God just only speaks English? Like that is, God's communications are way beyond human language, but they're there and they're real. And revelation is a regular experience. That, to me, the Anahat Meditation System is a revealed system. I didn't invent it. I didn't sit down and use my intellect to figure all this stuff out. I just meditated a lot, like 12 hours a day. And this spirit and this geometry are what we're underneath it all. The wisdom that you hear in the world saints and sages is just there in the fabric of creation, right? They just tapped into the love that's behind everything. That's why they talk only about love and only about peace. And the teachings are totally consistent because they're coming from one place. So divine mind is the voice for God within you, yet also when someone's really clear, it just speaks through them, right? You just get out of the way and you don't have to plan your talks. The Holy Spirit is just speaking through you, as you, right? Because it really is all one. So who is God? You're God, right? Who's God? Everything's God. Who's Buddha? Everything's Buddha. Yet you have to get comfortable with the vast emptiness of Buddha nature, because that anahat, that shunya, that emptiness, in Kabbalah is called ayin, the mystical no thingness, right? So what do you achieve through all of meditation? Nothing, nothing. But in the profound emptiness, once you get comfortable with, wow, I really don't exist. Now you exist as everything. You exist as what the Buddhists call the 10,000 things, because your emptiness lets the universe fill you. So if you said, I'm nothing, therefore I'm everything, if you had to speak, that would be a more accurate statement. And yet, the sense of individuality still seems to be there, right? Where you still get to be a person. So it's really nothing special. It's like infinite nothingness and nothing special. Yet something about the enlightenment process is deeply special or deeply wonderful for those who are willing to engage it. All right, those are those questions. Thanks for asking those. Let's go to the Q&A. Someone had asked earlier, I won't go into names as much. I'm a person with significant challenges at this time. I would appreciate to see what it looks like to do the meditation in a chair, as this will be the only way possible for me at this time. Great. Yeah, it can be, thank you for asking that. It can be intimidating to watch people who are fit, younger, healthy, flexible. They do yoga, they don't have bodily injuries, and they can sit meditation. So this doesn't mean you can't sit meditation if your body's not able to do that. I've been practicing yoga since my early 20s and Tai Chi and Qigong. I'm very flexible still. I'm 49 years old now, and I can still sit in full lotus. And I can just say the benefit of sitting in one of the lotus poses is absolutely worth it. But if you can't, it doesn't mean you can't do Anahat meditation. And I don't have any graphics prepared for tonight for this, but you'll see this as you go through the teachings online. It talks about 5 acceptable positions. So maybe in a future class, when I'm not doing PowerPoint, I'll get on the cushion and actually show you on the cushion again how to sit. But I have done that video recently on YouTube, up in the meditation loft here. So you can see that video on how to sit on the cushion, including the position called Seiza, where you're straddling the cushion, where your shins are on the earth. You're on your knees and on your shins on the tops of your feet. It's called Seiza. And most people can do that. It doesn't require crossing your legs, and it helps your spine to stay straight, which is really important in this system. If you are sitting in a chair, I'm in that recliner at least 2 hours a day. I spend a lot of time in trance and altered states. I go to the very depth of my being, I tap in, and then I let that run my life. So a lot of time is actually in the recliner, but a lot of time is on the cushion. And then behind is a yoga mat. So those are like the 3 tools: recliner for hypnosis, meditation cushion, and yoga mat. And a lot of time alone, a lot of time just doing spiritual practice. So part of why we do spiritual practice is to get our, like yoga specifically, is to get our body flexible and strong to be able to sit in meditation for long periods of time. If you can't do it, then just find a chair, but not an office chair that rocks like this. This chair can lock, so I think it's on this side, where now it can't go any further back. So I would lock a chair like this if you're using it, but sit up, don't lean. So now I'm not leaning back. Okay, so there, so I would just sit like that, that's all. Just sit upright and don't lean back, because when we're on the cushion, we're not leaning back. That's it, keep your feet flat on the floor, put your hands comfortably in your lap, but it's probably better to not have a swivel office chair. So I would just recommend getting like a dining room chair, put a cushion on it. You could actually put one of those Zafus. If you Google Z-A-F-U, Zafu, the meditation cushion on the floor there is called a Zafu and Zabutan. Zafu and Zabutan. But if you're sitting in a chair, you can put the Zafu, the round cushion, on the chair and get the same benefit almost of sitting in a lotus pose, because you have a straight spine. You won't be able to fall asleep. I never fall asleep in that chair, like ever. And I'm in samadhi in that chair for a good 2 hours a day minimum. It's just I'm 49 now, I'm a little more lazy, and that's just super comfortable. But I don't fall asleep at all. So if you can stay conscious, you can actually be in very deep meditation in a super comfortable position, which is great because it's easy to forget about your body. But if you want the full benefits of Anahat meditation, you do want to do it in a cushion. So you're sitting upright, and then you can move your head as necessary, because in Anahat, when we're descending, the chin goes down. When we're ascending, the chin would go up a little, just like level with the ground. The Anahat meditator we just saw in the Anahat meditation book cover, his chin is level. And I'm like, right, I'll leave it. But we could have had the chin tucked in as well, implying energy is going down. That's harder to do when you're on a recliner. But when you're sitting upright, you can move your head as necessary. Little subtle movements in Anahat meditation. So yeah, just sit upright in the chair. You can sit on just the flat wood of the chair, or you can sit on just a cushion, or I would actually just get a real meditation cushion, put it on the chair, and then sit at the front third of the cushion. We don't sit in the very center of a meditation cushion. We're on the front third. All right, great. Thanks for asking that question. Okay, let's see if I can expand the chat pod and awesome. All right, found where we are. Okay, I use names, it makes it more friendly. So that was Reverend Jennifer who just asked that. And then Sabrina said, and hello Sabrina, said, I did the Anahat meditation course when you first started. Awesome. There is the part of the astral projection separation meditation that I have practiced, and I felt my head expand, my energy get really big up and out of my head. Good. It was almost as if I felt like a giant, but was able to see and sense my body get very small. Beautiful. I stayed there for a few seconds, and then as I became aware of it, I shrunk back in my body and didn't go anywhere. I have not felt that again. Not sure what that was and how I can do that again. This is a great question. I can definitely explain. At that moment, I just had this moment of realization of how big my energy really was. Right on. You're not a body, and you're nowhere near as weak as you may think. You're far more powerful than you think because of who you really are. Remember, I said you're God, like you're a Buddha. What could be more powerful than the source of the whole universe, right? You are the mind that creates universes. So yeah, it really shocked me and took me some weeks to process it. Any feedback would be great. Thank you, Sabrina. Awesome question. All right, so as we're evolving in the mystical path, the path towards God, we discover one thing kind of early on. You're not a body, right? There's something called God, there's something called spirit, and it's not matter. I mean, it's all God, but don't mistake chairs and rocks and plants for the absolute, right? They're temporary finite forms. They might be made out of the divine energy, but we want to get to the source of the divine energy. So where do you find that? Right here now, like never in the past and never in the future. Like give up on those ideas right away. Get into the moment. The more you gather your consciousness into the moment, every time you go to the past when you're meditating, get here now. Realize you just went in the past, be compassionate, let it go. Don't beat yourself up. Just like, oh, I was in the past. Get back here now. You're thinking about the future, get back here now. The breath is here now. So Anahat meditation, we follow the breath. Here now, breathe here now. Breathe, like do it, just breathe here now. You are the consciousness that's here now. So let's call you the soul. But how big is the soul? It can be as small as an atom or as big as the universe. Literally, not like, figuratively or metaphorically or mythologically. Literally, you can make your consciousness super small. So here's how to do that right now. Find a point to fixate on. I'm looking at the camera. There's a light in the camera. So I'm going to stare right at that light. Or you can even do it to your body. So go to your pinky or something. Go to the tip of your index finger, tip of my index finger. All right, look, hypnosis. It's actually kind of what we do. All right, look right here. Look into my eye. Look right here. Narrow the field of your attention to one point in the present moment. Just do it now and you're really meditating. Like, stop multitasking, get off of Facebook, just right here now. Look into my eye, hypnotist, right here now. All right, so now you're here. That's really important because when you're scattered and you're caught up in your body, you're not here. So when we do ascending meditation, we pull up to the third eye. Now all of that concentrated power of a meditator goes to this point. Now that point can be a portal, but that's not as relevant to the question. But once you know who you are, the conscious soul, then that portal is one way you'll leave your body. But it doesn't sound like the way you were leaving, which is good and fine. What you're doing is more of what I teach. We tap into the vibrational states. So yeah, I'm sorry, there's a lot to share here. So step one of an out-of-body experience, the body is basically asleep. You're going to have the body so relaxed that if we check the brain waves, they would be in theta or delta, and you barely even feel the body. That's stage one. You have to learn to get to where the body is basically immobile and just numb and wooden-like and empty. Once that happens, then you can start practicing step two, which is the vibrational stage. That's very difficult to explain. I can't even always tap into it when I want to in my own. It sometimes just happens spontaneously, but it happens. I know what it is, and I know how to increase the probability of it happening, and I can teach that to you guys. So once the vibrations are strong enough, you're going to feel, as Sabrina said, I'll read her words there. She said, it felt like my head expanded, my energy got really big. So the ability, so now we focused in on one point, but now become aware of the whole room you're in. Get peripheral right now. Be aware of the wall to the left, the wall to the right, the floor below, the ceiling above, the wall in front, the wall behind. Be aware of all of it. Now, how big are you? Okay, so you can get really big or you can get really small, because who is the you? Consciousness. You are consciousness. When you start ascending in Anahat meditation with the body in that vibrational state, you will feel that you could actually leave. So what you're tapping into there is not fully out yet, but you're also alluding to something really important. You're realizing that there's a you that can get big or small, that you're extremely powerful, and that you is not bound by the body. So when you go through, you're talking about the separation stage. You want to get your, so again, there's so much to explain. Every time you start progressing, realize, awesome, now go there again next time. But now you got to go a little bit further. So it's not necessarily at this stage. I mean, it could be, you have to let spirit guide you, but it's not necessarily that you're going to get bigger. That can be really scary. When you keep getting bigger, 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 your ego starts flipping out at some point and you shrink back in. You're like, okay, that was too much. That was too much. Like, who am I? Oh my God, like I'm bigger than planets. What's going on here? Remember, you forgot who you are. And the answer to who are you is more glorious than you most can conceive of right now. So you're not just the consciousness that can zoom in and zoom out, but you need to really get the purity of that. You want to get out of your body. You really do want to experience that at least once. So you're getting there. And what you want to do is keep putting your awareness in that you, in the consciousness. So how do you progress more? Get out of the past, keep meditating. Get out of the past, get out of the future. It's fiction, there's nothing there. But you are here now, and go into the you who's here now. In the higher chakras, this is an ascending discussion now. When you're in the higher chakras and you leave your body, you can feel relatively small enough, like the size of your astral body. Right, you can be pretty big, but it's not going to be overwhelming. You can be in your etheric body, which feels about the same size as the physical, maybe just a little bit bigger and a little bit less physical. Of course, it still has form, but it's nowhere near as dense as this. Because when you can leave your body, you can be with your etheric body, you're going to be kind of contained in your size. When you get to your astral body, that you, the consciousness, is in the astral body, that's bigger, but size doesn't even matter very much at that point. However, you can let go of your astral body and just travel as the soul. We call that soul travel, not astral travel. Etheric travel implies you have an etheric body. Astral travel implies you have an astral body. Soul travel says you don't need a body. So you as consciousness can go wherever you will yourself to go, essentially. And you can will yourself to be really small, just like you did 10 minutes ago. You can will yourself to be really big, just like you did. That mechanism will be there when you leave your body. So when you move into cosmic conscious samadhi, what's called Virat Swarup, the vision of the cosmic self. You can read about this in my books. I have had this experience. I want to say that humbly, but I have. So truth is humble. You can read about that in my book, The Journals of Michael Devane, or now it's called the Anahat Meditation System. That's the novel. But the experience that character has of cosmic consciousness is an experience I had back then, before the book was written, obviously. And then you can read about it in my book, The Sacred Geometry of Meditation, as well. So cosmic consciousness is when you as the soul are out of your body and you start leaving the physical plane completely, or the physical earth anyway. And then you'll start to expand as big as planets and galaxies, because there's no limit to how big you could be. At some point, most who have this kind of experience also experience, Sabrina, you had a glimpse of what that's like, but it can be terrifying for the individual soul, getting used to the idea that size doesn't mean anything. We live in a dimension now where there's time and space and size and whatnot, but out of your body, that stuff is meaningless. Time and space doesn't mean much of anything. So yeah, you can be very big or very small. You can be as big as universes or as small as an atom. But mostly when you get out of your body, try to contain it to about the size of your human sense of self, so that there's like a you. But if it happens spontaneously, you keep getting bigger, you can go with it, but you can control that. Like I said, you can shrink down or get bigger. It's actually a very intuitive, easy thing to do, right? Focus here or expand peripherally. You can do that when you're out of your body. And then, so that's, you're at this, you're starting to get into the separation stage, right? And Sabrina, you've been practicing this for 2 years, but you've also done other stuff before, right? So when you start getting into these very deep mystical experiences, you're usually talking for the average person about 6 or 7 years of intense spiritual practice before this starts happening. Anahat meditation, breath work, hypnotherapy, this speeds up the process significantly. However, it still takes years to go through these stages. So if you're starting to get glimpses of, hey, I'm a soul and I can leave my body, then I would just encourage keep practicing that as much as you can. You're in an ascending phase now, where the goal is cosmic consciousness, and then the goal is God beyond the beyond, right? And that's what we're moving towards. When you achieve those states, like I'm saying, it's not the same anymore when you come back into the human, because what comes back into the human? Spirit, right? Not just thinking I'm a body, but knowing that you're spirit. It keeps evolving, the mystical path keeps unfolding. However, those 2 levels of attainment are really important from my experience. So actually achieving God beyond the beyond and achieving cosmic consciousness. But that movement into the soul there is right on the right track. You want to keep practicing tapping into the vibrations. And one little hint for everybody on tapping into the vibrations, do Anahat meditation, just do it, because as the energy is going up and down the grids, you're purifying your system. The other major teaching I offer, which you can find on YouTube, I just did a class recently on it, are the opening the heart teachings. If you're still suppressing emotions, forget about it. You're not going to get to leave your body. You're too blocked. Your energy's caught way in the past if you're still suppressing. So learn how to keep all your chakras open and stop suppressing. The vibrations require a very pure system, right? If you're holding on to anger and vengeance, and not you, Sabrina, right? But if you're holding on to guilt and all that, all the pain and the sadness and the hurt, if you have a lot of fear in your system, you're not ready for this level yet. You don't want to get out of your body when you're filled with negative emotions. You would encounter a lot of negative things. So there's kind of like a fail-safe built in that you won't be able to get to what Sabrina's just like tapping into in that question. That won't happen while you're still closed down. So do hypnotherapy, do breath work, clear your blocks, get all that stuff from your childhood out and your past lives, get all that stuff out of your system, get all of your energy liberated here now, and then you tap into the vibrations easily because your system is pure, and then you project from these higher chakras. There's a lot to talk about, of course, beyond this, but that's why we have over 60 hours at onlinemonastery.com. Thanks, Sabrina. That was a great question. All right. Les, you said thank you. Liliana, thank you. Great. All right, welcome Matthew, who said, sorry I'm late, no problem, I was going anyway. Sabrina said the Anahat Meditation System book is really good, it's very interesting, thank you. And I just started doing the audio book version of it. I'm about 1/3 of the way through, and I haven't read it since I wrote it. I've never read it, actually, just during the proofreading phases, because why would you read your own book? But I'm reading it now into their computer. And as I'm doing it, it's written in the Adirondacks. I'm like, I can't believe I live there now. That's just crazy. So it's thank you. It's interesting, but it's also like a real place that appears to be manifesting. So hopefully you guys will come visit someday. Matthew said, where's the best place to start? What video or resource as someone just starting? Okay, so yeah, you were late. If you go back to this video, you'll find it on YouTube under Institute of Interpersonal Hypnotherapy, or you can go to onlinemonastery.com and look around. I'll post this video after class, maybe in a special section about like support groups. I can create another link for that. But that'll explain and navigates the onlinemonastery.com website a little bit. Just start with the introductory videos on the homepage. Onlinemonastery.com's homepage has 4 videos. If you watch all those, if you watch all those, you get a good sense of how to get started. But then just go to the Anahat Meditation tab itself. And there you'll find over 60 hours of video. The entire course would take at least 100 hours, but it's years of meditation practice. So when you get certified in it, it's probably a good 2 years out from when you start, if you're practicing diligently. So there's other ways to become a certified meditation teacher, to start, leading little study groups, but this is super deep stuff. And it really is like a monastic level of practice. So take your time with it. But yeah, you can start at onlinemonastery.com. All right, great. Matthew also said, what are the benefits or the reasons for the poses of the meditation? If I'm see meditation, we lose, I don't know what that sentence is. We lose awareness of the body. What purpose does the positions have? Okay, great. So it's good. Like my office here is set up well for you to see. Recliner and cushion. The recliner is very easy to lose awareness of your body, but most people will fall asleep. Because of that, you need to practice on the cushion. So one of the benefits of being in lotus pose, or one of the 5 acceptable positions for Anahat meditation, is it helps keep you awake. When you're sitting upright, especially with crossed legs, you're going to stay awake. When people practice deep relaxation, like after a yoga class, they call it yoga nidra or yogic sleep. They tend to fall into like this dreamy, half awake, half asleep state, kind of like a lot of people experience with hypnosis. And then when you come out of it later, you go, wow, where was I? I was here, but I wasn't here. You were semi-conscious, and it was very pleasant because your body and mind were really relaxed. That's not the goal. That's not samadhi. It's a healthy state. It's a nice state. Yoga nidra or deep hypnosis balances the organism out. It helps to give you a reset of your nervous system, so it's really good. But you want to stay conscious while the body is in that profoundly relaxed state. So one benefit of sitting on the cushion is the intense concentrated power that an advanced meditator has. In Anahat meditation, we talk about the Zen term joriki, or the yogic term sanyam. Both words can be translated as intense concentrated power. Hypnosis people don't get that. It's the people who get on the cushion who get the intense concentrated power. That's a huge benefit of meditation that you just really can't get in a recliner or lying down in bed. Another main benefit is when you're sitting on the cushion in one form of lotus pose, you're in full lotus, your legs are crossed, right? So what happens is you're sealing off the energy from like dropping down and out of your body, and your soles of your feet, which are normally face down, are now face up, right, when we're crossed. When we cross our legs, we are locking the energy in. The legs become one, so you can't tell really which is which. And again, the soles of the feet are facing up, so the energy doesn't go down and out. When you lie back in a recliner, your legs are extended, and your energy goes down into your legs. It has to. But when you sit in meditation, the legs kind of become a non-issue, and your arms, where we place our arms, make them a non-issue. So in very advanced meditation on the cushion, we can get the body to drop away from our awareness for sure. However, it's not even necessarily the goal. The goal is just to be very, very present with our meditation practice in the here and now. We don't have to be attached to the benefits. They will just come over the years. And if you go through the initial lessons of Anahat Meditation at onlinemonastery.com, you'll see I'll outline like every benefit of this system. I'm not here to try to sell people on it tonight, just to support you in it. But the benefits are profound and they happen on the cushion, not necessarily in the recliner. So what are some of the benefits? Opening all your chakras. Now, if you don't know what that means, then that doesn't mean much to you. But imagine a closed heart that doesn't feel love or peace or joy or bliss or creativity or wonder or spontaneity or passion or compassion. What if that's open and all of that is there? That's a very different being. What if your throat is closed? You can't speak. You can't just let words flow out of your mouth. You can't be spontaneous. You can't give a good lecture. You can't speak your own voice. You can't communicate to others if that's closed. There are 7 of those things called chakras, and we want all those open. This system will open all 7 chakras. This system on the cushion will purify every energy meridian in the Chinese medical system and the yogic nadi system. In Chinese medicine, which is my background, if we have blocks in the meridians, we will get sick. Anahat meditation clears the blocks in the meridians. I can go on and on about these benefits. So my main job is to motivate you to get on the cushion so you can experience that for yourself. The health benefits are significant. The peace, the presence, the focus power to be in the moment, to get through difficult times, to be at peace no matter what's happening. I mean, just trust me, it's worth it. Again, it's just my job to create motivation to get you on the cushion. But I do explain the benefits in the introductory videos of Anahat for sure. All right. Liliana said, here and now, I am able to hear my heart beat. Nice. Let's talk about that for a moment. When you meditate, don't think it's a time to sit down and to talk. It's a time to sit down and to listen. Right now, I hope you're making this a meditation by listening to me. You're not talking to me, right? You're listening to me. Practice listening. Listen in the here and now. Put all of your attention on the speaker and get your mind quiet. How do you make your mind quiet? Shut up and listen. I say that lovingly, but a little bit more direct, right? Shut up and listen. Now, I'm saying that with compassion, but saying do that in your own mind. When you sit down in meditation, say, shut up. I mean, you can, I'm being funny, just being loose about it. Be respectful of your mind, but literally like be quiet and listen. What did the Psalms say more eloquently than I just did? The Psalms say, be still and know that I am God. When you meditate, you want to listen, not speak, but meaning don't be in there talking to yourself. But how do you stop that? Make a choice to stop that. Realize you can stop that. But every time you catch yourself thinking, come back to the meditation practice. I'm not teaching the practice tonight. So whatever stage you're at of Anahat meditation, when your mind wanders and you weren't doing the meditation practice, like let's say you're doing meditation to heart-centered. All right, well, you went to your heart, but you realize you're angry, and now you're thinking about Joe and what Joe did to you, and now you're in the past thinking about Joe. All right, take a breath, let it go, forgive, let go, and get back to the now. And when you get caught up there again, get back to the now. Then you think about the future when you got to talk to Joe. Let it go and get back to the now. In the present moment, keep listening. All right, just let your consciousness be present to your ears. Let your consciousness be present to your eyes. We call it mindfulness, right? It's like the most basic aspect of meditation is mindfulness. Be mindful here and now. When the mind wanders, just come back to your breathing, back to your practice. Now, as you start going deeper, deeper, deeper within, you're going to be listening internally. At first, you will hear your internal organs and the sounds inside. And it's a little creepy because you start realizing what the body is. You know, we like to forget about it, but really it's science fiction horror show stuff. You know, what's going on inside of there. Like this heart beating and all that is really weird. So, because, you know, your spirit, like, well, what the hey is going on here? So you'll start listening to the heartbeat and you hear the stomach gurgling and you're just listening, because what else are you going to do? You're here and you got to be with your body. You don't want to just be in your neurotic thoughts. So you listen to the human and you will hear the heart beating, and that's blood pumping. That's a muscle. I mean, this is weird stuff, right? You need like science fiction in a movie. You need horror movies. Just meditate and just be with the body that will eventually become a corpse. Yogis do this. Yogis literally will go to graveyards and meditate on corpses, because it is a matter of life or death. Meditation is really about life and death, right? Your body's going to die someday. So who are you? And you're this heart beating in meditation. Listen to your heartbeat. And then what if that thing stopped beating? I don't know, but you're going to see what happens next. It's good to be prepared for what happens next, right? So meditating helps you to get in touch with your soul. So when the heart stops beating, you're like, oh, I got this. It's an out-of-body experience. It's the last out-of-body experience. Hooray, right? I don't have to come back here into this thing. I'm here with the mission. And when the mission's done, out of here. So listen to inside, because what's happening inside is happening inside now. But really, I'm kind of speaking lighthearted here, but practice meditating on listening to the deepest part of your being, because you're not a body. When you get good at the listening mechanism of meditation, you can start listening for more subtle divine sounds. The sound of Om is inside of you, but you don't listen, right? Too busy thinking, too busy talking, too busy planning, too busy worrying. When your mind gets quiet, you can hear the subtle Anahat Shabd, which is silent light, which is the sound of Om. In fact, every chakra has a mantra, meaning it has a vibration. So once you get into your body, keep going into the more subtle body, towards your astral body, your chakra, where your chakras are, and you'll hear internal subtle vibrations. But you got to be super quiet in there and super focused. So you can take your consciousness out into the world, and everybody's doing that. But a meditator takes their mind deep into the inner world, and just like it's kind of infinite out there, it's also infinite in here, inside your own soul. Like the depth of you has no limit. So it's limitless, it's boundless. And honestly, it's far more blissful. And that's where the love and the joy and the peace are. That's where the calm and the tranquility, that's where the wisdom is. That's where revelation is. Right? Everything you ever wanted to feel is actually in you. A Course in Miracles says, all illness is some form of external searching. All illness is some form of external searching. And if you don't go within, you go without. Conversations with God. If you don't go within, you go without. So go within and practice listening internally, meaning like be quiet and listen instead of thinking meditation is about thinking, right? So thank you for saying that, because yeah, you can hear your heartbeat, but you can hear much more subtle sounds as you direct your attention more subtle. All right. Sabrina said, yes, getting bigger did scare me. Yeah, but you'll get used to it now. It's like, oh, okay, I didn't die. In fact, that was pretty cool. And then next time, maybe you'll get bigger, or you might find that you start spinning and that consciousness that's you can actually rotate. And then you're like, well, that was weird. I just was spinning around inside my body. And then next time you spin around, you get out of your body and then you get back in. It's like, that was fun. And then you spin around and get out of your body. Next thing you know, you're back in time and you've done time travel. It goes in stages, and you just discover this stuff by gently, gradually taking each step, but keep pushing where you just went, because that's the direction to go. However, in Anahat, we also have descending. So after you ascend and you're up in the higher chakras and you leave your body, then be sure to practice descending so you can anchor it back in and be a functional, present human being. You don't want to be a space cadet or be too ungrounded. All right. Great. You're welcome, Sabrina. Matthew said, when I've done opening the chakra meditations, I lost concept of time and I felt a tube coming from my crown all the way to my base. And I felt light and what felt like information come down and into my head. It was a beautiful experience. Right on. Awesome. I'm not sure when you joined class, but very much what I've been talking about today. So you're getting it. Cool. You said, however, after that meditation, I felt extremely unbalanced and confused and ungrounded. How do we prevent this from happening with this system? Is this normal? Was I doing something wrong? No, perfect. It's normal. It's what happens when you start liberating your life force. So let's go to screen share again and look at. So here. So the tube you're talking about is called the Sushumna. In Anahat meditation, I just call it the core central channel, just to have a clear English description. In sacred geometry, you can study the phenomena of the tube torus, which essentially is like a donut shape. And the middle of that donut is a tube. Just as your mouth and anus form a tube, right? Your digestive system is a tube. Your chakra system is a tube, and energy is meant to go up and down that tube without restriction. Now, as you start liberating the energy and the blockages are clearing, your chakras are opening, the energy is not quite controlled, right? Liliana was saying she rocks in meditation. I'm like, that's okay, but you might really want to sit still because you're forcing the Shakti, that energy, to just move through the channels because it can't move your body anywhere else. The energy is going to want to do something. When we do Anahat meditation, we breathe down to the descending triangle, to the very base of it, or down to what we call the hara, which is below your navel, the second chakra. When we do descending, we breathe down into the lower chakras. That is going to help you to get grounded and centered and focused. When we do ascending, we are pulling the energy up the spine, up to the crown region. However, as you really narrow your attention there, you're still keeping that concentrated power you developed from descending. So when you descend, very intense concentrated power. When you ascend, keep that intense concentrated power. Wherever you go, energy will follow. So if you put your attention up here, your life force energy will go up to here. And if you put your attention below your navel, the life force energy will go down. So if you just practice Anahat meditation, it will open and clear all these channels, but it will rebalance them the way they were meant to be balanced. And the system itself will help you to get balanced. The way the system came to me, I had lived in Zen Mountain Monastery, which is very descending. And then I lived at Kripalu Yoga Ashram, which is very ascending. Yoga tends to go more up. And I didn't know how to balance both. And nobody I knew was able to teach me. So I went into the woods alone and meditated for like 12 hours a day for a long time, like months. And then the Anahat Meditation System came to me, and it was teaching me how to come fully in and to go fully out, but to live with a fully open heart where everything was balanced. So what I think you're experiencing is like a loosening, deconstructing, so that everything can reconstruct. And yeah, the system will reconstruct it to where you'll have all the glorious high stuff, all the mystical stuff, but you'll still be a very functional human being. You won't feel ungrounded the way I did. People would meet me back in my early 20s and they were like, you are so ungrounded. But I don't feel ungrounded now at all. But when I want to go into my high chakras and go up into higher samadhi states, no problem now, right? It's easy because of, for a lot of reasons, but one is getting all the chakras clear and open and getting your mind so concentrated, your consciousness so refined, concentrated, that you can direct the life force where you want it to go. That's why we call it pranayam. The word yam again means to control. And even though you say, well, why should I control divine energy? It's just like catching your breath. Your breath and your life force energy are intimately connected. And when you control the vibrations before an out-of-body experience, you're kind of holding your breath. I say kind of because it's not quite physical, but there's a you who captures the life force energy and directs it where you want to go, where you want it to go. Remember, the energy of the universe is in the service of you, right? You direct it where you want it to go. You want to build a house, you want to make a monastery, you direct the energy to go do what it's going to do, right? You're doing it in harmony with the whole, but there is a you who has the power of will, who can absolutely direct where the Shakti goes, where the power goes. So yeah, I think it's beautiful what you're asking, and it sounds like you're on the right track. And if you just keep practicing Anahat meditation, it'll keep opening all that, but it'll help to balance that. Remember, There's something called fruition. You'll hear about that as you go through all the Anahat videos. Fruition is really when you are whole and complete. But to get there, like, what does that really mean? We don't have time to go into that tonight, but to get there, you've got to clear all your blockages, and that tube has to be totally open. Not only that, right? We're talking about complete wholeness in every possible way. But yeah, reorganizing your energy system, clearing those blocks, right on track. Awesome. Okay, on the Q&A pod, Crystal said, hello, Crystal. In descending meditation, I am counting the breath by following my own breath's flow, speed, rhythm, or am I controlling the breath in and out with the counts? Okay, awesome. It's kind of what I was just explaining. Do you surrender to the flow of the energy, or are you kind of controlling the flow of the energy? It's a little bit of both, right? So let me try to find an analogy here. I am a kayaker, right? I was thinking about going down a river. It's like the Zen of surfing, or I'm a paraglider, and that's harder to explain. But when you're up there flying around, flying in thermals, again, it's hard to explain, but there's like a Zen to this kind of stuff. So let's talk about it in relationship to kayaking. When I'm going down a river and I got my paddle, right, I can control that paddle. I can control where the boat goes, but I'm also going where the current's going. And when I see a V, I know, okay, there's two rocks here, so I got to go in between that. Do I have the ability to paddle into one of the rocks? Of course, right? But we want to be in harmony with the flow and harmony with the Tao. So if you can take that analogy to, yes, you can control the boat, but yes, you have to flow at the river. So when you sit down in meditation, well, what's the boat doing? What's the river doing now? Well, I just sat down. I was really stressed. I had a rough day. Well, if you need time for the dust to settle, it's a good idea to do that. At the same time, we say in Zen practice, if the first thought comes from delusion, all subsequent thoughts do. And if the first thought comes from enlightenment, all subsequent thoughts do. The way we make that teaching practical is the moment we sit down, we engage our practice full force. Start counting right away. Inhale 1, exhale 2. Don't give your mind a chance to think this is time for play. Like, we're serious. This is a matter of life or death. This is about who am I and my liberation from time and space, from like death. So this is like serious business for advanced meditators. Like, there's a real motivation to why we're doing this. You're not just trying to relax. Like, this is literally about life and death and salvation and saving the world. Meditators are serious about this stuff. Again, I'm here to increase motivation, to inspire you to get on the cushion. So when you do, if the energy is really disturbed, pull back and just watch and let it settle down. If the pond is all muddy and dirty and there's waves, get out of the pond and just let it settle on its own. But be very mindful of the pond. Don't let yourself wander off. Just watch, like, oh, here's a technique you might like. I do every night what I call the daily review show. I will sit in meditation and I will just say, like, I'll let my mind say, okay, what happened today? Oh, okay, we got breakfast. Oh, that was pretty good. Oh, I don't eat breakfast anymore. I was, like, okay, but morning meditation was good. And my time in the recliner was good. I did some hypnosis. Okay, that was nice. All right, we did some work today. Go through your whole day. And let the thoughts go. Just like, okay, we did this. Okay, forgive it, forget it, move on. Forgive, forget, move on. Forgive, forget, move on. Go through in the morning, whatever thoughts are there, be aware of them, forgive them, forget them, move on. Like, you just keep letting the thoughts go. So you can pull back and just watch, and you're very passively observing. You're the witness, you're the observer. But at the same time, start gathering your breath. Start becoming more intentionally focused on the breath. Breathing in, breathing out, counting 1, counting 2, if you're breathing and counting. And breathing and counting seems so basic, but I still do it to this day. You can let go of the counting. I can let go of the counting and still stay totally focused, but beginners can't. So it's really helpful to breathe and count. But capture that attention more and more. So like, one hand is here as I'm talking. It's like I'm holding space for my lower self to say whatever he needs to. And then I am capturing the energy more and more. After about, for me, depends on what the day was like, but after about 10 minutes, I can gather all of my attention, and sometimes in a minute, but there were thoughts throughout the day. I'm running a business, there's stuff going on in the world. So you be aware of your thoughts and you keep gathering attention more and more. After a period of time, ideally, 10 minutes or so, There's just breathing and counting. There's no more mind. So be gentle with the ox. Don't just clamp down on it. So we say, what's the best way to tame an ox? Give it a large pasture. Let your mind run around wherever it does, but watch it. And then keep coming back to your breath, coming back to your breath. Mind went in the past. Okay, you did. Let it go. Come back to now. At the end of a day, if you did the daily review show process that I do, you should have no more thoughts of the past the next day. It's foolish to carry the past into the next day. You should get empty every single day. There's no more sanskars, no more karma carried over from the next day. Like every day is new and fresh for a meditator. Every moment is new and fresh for a meditator. Okay, so yeah, capture your attention gradually, like increasing. The Buddha said, when you're tuning a guitar string, don't make it, or violin, I don't know what instrument is referring to. I think they were talking about a guitar back in India way back when. Anyway, he said, when tuning a guitar string, don't make it too tight or you'll break the string. Don't make it too loose or the string won't play beautiful music. So we're getting it like just right. We're not pushing the discipline to where we hate meditation, but we're also using enough discipline to force ourselves to get on the cushion. Thanks, Crystal. That's a great question. Crystal also said, and is the breath to be kept just expanding the lower hara area? I feel the breath naturally rising up and expanding first the lower area and then sometimes up to my chest. And I'm wondering if it's that my focus leaving the hara and moving up. All right, so great. Another awesome question from somebody who's practicing. So thank you, good job. Now, there's a system here, but we also need to know when to let go of this system. So if you're training for something, you're learning all the basics. Like when you learn to play music, you learn notes and you learn chords and you learn your hand positions. You can't jam yet because you're just learning all the basics. And after a few years of practicing, now you can just jam and your body knows what to do and the energy knows what to do. Like when you're kayaking, you gotta learn all the different strokes and technique of navigating down a river. But once you know how to do it, it's this unconscious competency and you're just able to flow with it. So one answer to your question is, if you're really learning the basics, you've been just starting the practice, you definitely want to develop the intense concentrated power at the hara, meaning the second chakra area just below the navel, and don't let it get away. Gather all the chi and all the power there. But it doesn't mean that that chi and power can't expand and move creatively. I don't do Anahat meditation because I'm jamming now, right? I've been doing this for 25, 30 years or something. So I know Anahat meditation very intimately, and my practice is way more advanced. It's more advanced now than it was in 2020. So that's one answer to the question, is very refined, very focused, do this system exactly as you're learning it. However, eventually it's going to become kind of your own, and you want to let go of the shoulds and the discipline and start letting the energy flow. Like watch what it does. Like I breathe into my hara, but then I like whoosh went up to my shoulders. It's like, that was beautiful. I just had a wave of love pour through my heart. And then like you take a breath and you go up to your head. And then next thing you know, like the energy expands. You're like, whoa, I'm as big as, right? I'm big. What you're becoming very intimate with is your own consciousness and your own life force energy. The technique is secondary to that living reality. The Buddha said, when you get to the other side of a river, don't carry the boat on your head. So when you're using the boat to get across the river, you have to use good paddle technique. But once you're on the other side, you're accomplished, then you can start to be more creative. You can start to, like with music, like now you're making your own music because you know the principles. So you know the principle of descending now. You know the principle of concentrated power. You know how to watch your breath and count your breath. But a beginner doesn't know all that. Once you're really good at that, well, then what do you do with that ball of powerful, concentrated energy? Well, you can move it up to your heart. That's meditation too. And you keep opening your heart with that powerful energy. It'll purify all your sanskars. It'll burn away all your blockages. And now you got all this love here. But what are you going to do with it? Just breathe and count? Or do you go be of compassion and service in the world, right? You go start a monastery. You do something really good from that love. The energy is going to want to express itself But ideally it's just expressing itself in its purity rather than through the old blockages that we have. So having a disciplined practice helps to burn away blocks, but when you're free of blocks, then the energy is free to just do what it wants to do, right? You're part of this infinite void, this infinite being, this infinite consciousness, call it God or whatever you want. And it's doing something, it's creating universes. We're part of that. And really all you're doing in meditation is coming into the moment, harmonizing with the Tao, and then flowing with the Tao. But we have to use the discipline to get us into the Tao, and then we can start to jam. All right, thank you, awesome. And then I think you had one more question, and then I'll open up to any other questions, and then we'll probably just wrap it up because I don't want to do too much, and we'll try to keep it at 2 hours tonight. So, but thank you, everybody. This is great. I'm glad we're doing it. All right, Crystal said, I can definitely see my perfectionism getting in the way and the inner critical parent's voice thinking am I doing this right? Something to work on, you said. When it's been coming up, I've been reminding myself it's okay, it's practice. And usually I can get back to the meditation. Okay, yeah, so a vocal inner critic. I can talk about how to deal with it in meditation, yet I will say, get one really powerful parts therapy, hypnotherapy session by a graduate of our school, really knows this stuff. Get one session with someone you really trust. Every time I do that with a client, my hourly rate is 300 per hour. Sessions are 2 hours, but I'm available for private sessions if anybody wants to splurge. I keep my rates high because I'm super busy these days with other projects, but I do this work and I have a lot of graduates who do this work. So I'm not trying to sell anybody, but my point is when you do one good parts therapy session on the inner child, the inner critic, and the inner adult, just go into deep hypnosis, bring in that child, bring in that critic, and let somebody facilitate. Don't try to do it on your own. Like really just invest in one good session, inner child, inner parent, inner critic. Or you can listen to that recording I put on YouTube called Integrating the Psyche into Wholeness. It'll bring in your inner child in the meditation. It'll bring in your inner parent. It'll bring in the inner adult. It'll clean all that up and it'll keep integrating. Listen to that for a month or two, and maybe it'll save you from having to get a hypnotherapy session. But I can tell you, every time I do one of those sessions with a client, like a parts therapy session, not just hypnotic programming, when I see them the next week, they say, my mind has been so quiet. I don't have anybody in there attacking me anymore. So yeah, do hypnotic programming, my YouTube recording on that, or get parts therapy. But the other answer to the question in meditation is, what do we do when we have that inner critic? Observe it and let it go and come back to the practice. The practice happens because we got on the cushion. It doesn't mean it has to be quiet in there. It's not like, oh, I can't meditate because I can't stop my mind. It's not like I can't meditate because I can't stop my inner critic. We meditate because we have an inner critic, right? So when you get on that cushion, don't go there expecting bliss. That's the crucible. That's where you're going to go and burn. That's where you're going to go and sit and deal with your demons, right? That's where it's not, I talk about bliss in meditation because I've been doing it for 30 years. But if you're still sitting there with a negative inner critic, you really want to get on the cushion. I noticed a little bit of fear yesterday. It wasn't much, but I don't really feel that anymore. I was like, oh, there's a little bit of fear. And then I'm like, all right, 2 more hours on the meditation cushion because I just found something, right? I found a part of me that could use a little bit of healing, a little bit of love or some attention or whatever. So you want to bring attention to what's going on inside. In yogic practice, I could do this from yoga. In yogic practice, we have the word sanyam. Remember in Zen, we have jiriki. But in Buddhism, we have a term called prajna paramita. One way to explain that is the intense concentrated power a meditator has is placed upon something. You can take that intense concentrated power and just look the critic dead in the eye. Be like, all right, I'm here, talk to me. I'm here, you got all my attention. And then what's gonna happen to that guy or gal? He or she's gonna shut up, right? Because you're like, I'm here. So be very mindful with it, very present. Keep practicing presence, 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 awareness, just present moment awareness. And when the critic comes in, you're like, yeah, I hear you. And then what do? Ignore it, right? remember I was saying listen, but you don't have to speak. You don't have to talk back to it. Just be like, I hear you. You can use the Donald Duck voice for it if you want. Just like you can talk, but you have to sound like Donald Duck. But again, this is a fun little technique. Really in meditation, we're just going to come back to the breathing and counting, to our awareness. I'm conscious and I'm breathing and counting. I'm conscious, I'm breathing and counting. Oh my God, my inner critic just said I'm not doing it good enough. Good, let it go. Come back to breathing and counting. But am I doing it right? Come back to breathing and counting. Your goal in meditation is just sitting with nobody home. You're just sitting and breathing is happening. It'll feel like you're being breathed. It'll feel like the universe is breathing your body. And you're just like, wow, it's happening by itself. And I'm just present and I'm just watching, but you won't be thinking the thoughts. You're just present, watching. Like right now, as I talk, I'm watching the talking happen. There's just a consciousness observing. So you want to develop that seat of the observer by just meditating a lot. And then when the inner critic comes in, the consciousness just is aware of it. You're like, yeah, I see you. But you don't have to have a conversation with it. Just keep letting go. Every time you ignore a guest, they tend to not want to come back, right? So if somebody keeps coming to your house, but you ignore them, there's a good chance they're just going to leave you alone eventually. Like, she's not talking to me anyway. So one of the best ways to get rid of somebody is to ignore them. So notice it did it, come back to the practice. Oh, wow, it just said, am I breathing good enough? Whatever. The practice is just a simple practice. And you don't have to be good at it. That's why we call it practice, right? We get on the cushion and we practice meditation. But just the fact that you got on the cushion is the practice. Whatever you do internally doesn't even matter that much because you forced yourself to sit, and that's good practice by itself. But now you bowed in. It's like, oh, I just did something different than what my ego would have done. And my ego's pissed, but I bowed, right? And now I put my hands in a gentle mudra. Oh, now I'm practicing gentleness. I just put the tip of my tongue on the roof of my mouth. I noticed that. Oh, I'm mindful of that. Oh, now I can just breathe a little bit. Just engage the practice. It's not about doing the practice good. If you want to read a book that'll help on this, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind by Shinro Suzuki. Shinro Suzuki, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. It talks about the importance of getting on the cushion, regardless of how you feel, and what to do with the mind weeds. Right? There's a chapter called Mind Weeds. Right? What do we do with those weeds? We can pluck them, we can manipulate them, or we could just ignore them, and they're going to just die off on their own anyway. Right? The energy of the inner critic doesn't have to be anything but just transformed, right? We don't stop energy from being, we just allow it to transform itself by giving it some room to watch. But honestly, again, you can sit with it for years in meditation, or you could have one really powerful hypnotherapy session, which tends to make that voice much gentler and much quieter. All right, great. Thank you for those questions. Any other sharing or questions before I wrap it up for the evening? Oh, yeah. Dr. Abby said, I have loved beginning the meditation by lifting thought and focus on spirit, love, soul, or divine mind. It tells me which. Nice. You just know what to focus on when. And then, but that's nice just to comment on that for a moment. There is inside of you love. It's the same energy. It's like water can be wet, water can be clear, water can be wavy, but it's still water, right? It just has different flavors, different forms. So we have the energy of consciousness, which we can call spirit, or love, or soul, or divine mind, or peace, or bliss. It's all the same thing, but you're saying, like, it will guide you about what to focus on. Like, now focus on the peace of God. Now focus on the immense silence of God. Now focus on that inner voice of God, or the sound of God. So yeah, there's a lot of inner stuff going on, actually, once we clean house and we can go inside. So that's beautiful. And then you said, and then I breathe in, I breathe it in. Not so much physically, but maybe in the etheric heart area, it feels like immediate merge. If I come with a question, I ask once, then leave it out of thought to just listen and feel. Experiences after the meditation have made the rest of my day incredible. Everything happens more easily. Timing is magically perfect. Yep. So these are the benefits of meditation. Timing is magically perfect. People are more helpful and loving, and wow, answers to my questions or requests or help have been sometimes miraculous. I love, love, love the echo of the meditation that stays through the day. This energy of pure soul rests on everything, everyone, and ways open for me to help others in so many ways. Beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Abby. Dr. Abby presented at a recent conference and didn't let us down at all. So sense your purity there in that. Yeah, so just to comment on what you said, the echo of love and the meditation that stays throughout the day. Meditation practice, what are we practicing for? Life, right? Like you don't practice meditation for anything but the reality of reality. So meditation brings you into reality and you get in the peace and the love and the bliss, you get centered, you get clear, you feel perfect. You know, I'll sit until I do. Like every morning I get on the cushion, I do my morning practice and I get totally aligned and then I start doing my work. Right? But it's taking it off the cushion that matters because on the cushion is actually very selfish, right? If I want to sit and meditate on bliss, it's like, great, but why? How much more bliss do you need? Eventually you get off the cushion and be of service to others who are not feeling that. I got on the cushion the other night and I was like, all right, great, I'm tapping in, hello, God. And then God's like, go start an Anahat Meditation Support Group. That came to me the moment I sat on that cushion, like 2 weeks ago, that it's time to start the support groups again. So it's not about our personal bliss and peace and love because other beings need to wake up to who they truly are and God needs teachers of God, right? We need bodhisattvas. So getting out there, you know, if you sit down in meditation and divine mind is like, write this book or open this practice or help this person, do it. Listen to those ideas because either you're listening to your neurotic conscious mind or your emotionally disturbed heart, or you're listening for the voice for God. Like which one would you rather listen to? Super conscious mind or subconscious? Once you've tapped in the super conscious and you're listening and that's all that guides you, then it's not going to tell you to sit on the cushion all day unless it does because you're working through something. But once you're really whole and clear, then yeah, let action move through you. The great poet Rumi, he said, show me the men of action. I want to see the men of action. And what he meant was like the spiritual path is not those who just sit on the cushion. He said, I don't care about poetry. Show me a man of action. He said, man, but show me a man or woman of action. So yeah, it's taking it off the cushion. That's why in Zen, we sit Zen. Like we don't say meditation in Zen. We say sitting Zen, walking Zen, eating Zen, reading Zen, every moment Zen, every moment meditation. Samadhi isn't like, oh, I go on the cushion and practice Samadhi. You're doing Samadhi all the time. There's an island I almost moved to off of Greece called Mount Athos. I'm like, you know, serious monk at heart. And I'm like, all right, where's like the ultimate monastery area? And you guys can research. It's called Mount Athos. You have to be Greek Orthodox to go there, but I didn't care. I wanted a monastery. But they did an interview actually of one of the monks in this monastery, at one of the monasteries on this island. There's like 100 or something monasteries in this one island. It's been gone for 1,000 years. Only men are allowed, whatever. But, you know, sorry, ladies, but only men are allowed on this island. And there's hundreds of monasteries or something. And there's like hundreds of monks and they're just meditating or praying all the time. So somebody, interviewer went there and asked this monk, so like, when do you pray? And the monk laughed. And the interviewer said, why are you laughing? He said, it's funny to me that you think I pray every so often. He's like, I pray all the time. Right? When I went to a Greek Orthodox monastery and got to meet some of those like really evolved monks who've been there for like their whole life, they're so humble and so pure. And it's very different what's happening inside of somebody who's been doing spiritual practice at a monastic level for years. So yeah, praying all the time, taking it off the cushion is what the practice is about. Beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Abby. You said perfect. Exactly. Thank you so very much for all you are giving us. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Let's wrap it up at the 2-hour mark. I appreciate that you were here. I'll be here next week. If you guys keep showing up, I'll be here. We'll do it at least through June. And then we'll kind of see where everybody's at. So thank you again. I'll be posting this on onlinemonastery.com, and it will be on YouTube as well. All right, have a good night, everybody. Thank you. Feel free to email or whatever, contact me with questions for next week or topics you would like to cover, and we'll do that for sure. All right, thanks, and good night all.